Welcome to the American Family Insurance DreamBank, where we believe in the transformative power of dreams. I'm Kriterica, a dream kidder here at DreamBank, and on behalf of our team, we are happy to have you with us. For those of you who have attended our virtual or in-person events in the past, welcome back. And for those that are joining us for the first time, we would like to take a moment to introduce you to DreamBank. Here at American Family Insurance, we believe communities are stronger and the future is brighter when people are actively pursuing their dreams. That's why we created DreamBank, an inspirational community destination and digital experience dedicated to dreamers everywhere. From our daily event series to immersive signature programs, there is something for every dreamer. Our offerings are designed to help you celebrate the dream journey, overcome obstacles, and stay motivated. Our mission also includes our commitment to bringing forward critical conversations about diversity, equity, and inclusion. We are honored to showcase speakers who represent the vibrant and varied dimensions of our ever-growing community of dreamers. And it is our earnest intention to offer content that leads to reflection, growth, and unity. We thank you for taking time today to listen and learn alongside us. Now, to introduce our speaker. Xernona Clayton is the founder, president, and CEO of the Trumpet Awards Foundation and creator of the foundation's Trumpet Awards. Xernona moved to Atlanta in 1965, where she accepted a position with the Southern Christian Leadership Conference and worked closely with the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Dedicated to promoting racial understanding, Xernona Clayton has been a leader in civic projects and civil rights activities for several years. In 1966, she coordinated the activities of Atlanta's Black doctors in a project called Doctors Committee for Implantation, which resulted in the desegregation of all hospital facilities in Atlanta. Her persistent fight against the dragons of prejudice and bigotry was never more apparent than in 1968, when the Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan denounced the Klan and credited Xernona's influence with this change. Xernona, we are ready for you. There you go.
Am I on now?
Yep, you're good to go.
Okay. Well, it's a good day. In spite of that technical difficulty, we're moving forward. And here I am in living color. Yes, very much so. And proud to be that. I've been told by your office that you want me to kind of talk about my life a little bit. And let me start by saying that this year I'm celebrating another birthday, and I've been told that I'll be 92. I said that jokingly because I used to tell people all the time, I was holding on to 31. That was going to be the age I chose, and that was going to be the one I was sticking with. Well, I've moved on now to reality, because I tell you, when I became 90, I was approaching 90, and I asked myself a question. Gee, that's a long time. 90 seems so old. And then I just said, I'm going to ask myself a question. What have you been doing here on this earth for 90 years? And I decided to start enumerating some of the moments of my life that were moments of pride and joy and significance. And then when I put them all together, I just said, it has not been a bad life. Fortunately, I was born in a good home. I had a wonderful mother and father. And my mother used to tell me and my sister and our family that there's a price you pay for the life you live. Well, when you're young, you don't care about all those sayings. But you learn that trying to live life every day, that's what you're doing, living it, and it's being measured. Is it good, bad, indifferent? Or you're just standing here looking in the mirror and saying, you're really occupying space. You're not doing much of anything. Well, along my path, I can say that those 90 years have not all been bad. I tried to take my mother's teachings, try to live a good life, and I've lived an honest life. And when I start measuring some of the things, and some of the highlights of that measurement was I put forth effort when I was, well, I shouldn't say when I found out, guess I always knew I was Black. But when the Blackness really sunk in, that it was a negative position in the eyes of some people, it was so painful. And that moment was this: my sister and I had gone out with our two boyfriends for an event. On the way home, we were all in college. On the way home to the dormitory, we wanted hamburgers. All of us had money. And we said, oh, there's a hamburger stand right there. And all we wanted was a hamburger. And we were a little hungry. Four of us got out of the car, opened the door, and this white man standing there with a long butcher knife. I don't know, it looked like it was 3 feet long. Of course, it wasn't. But it frightened us to death. And he said, if you don't get out of here right now, I will cut your heads off. You know you don't belong here. Well, it scared us to death. And of course, immediately we did back out. Hurt, of course. I heard that a lot, and fast forward, and I heard a lot that you don't belong here. And I went back in my memory bank and pulled out that painful moment. You don't belong here. Well, I found out there some people did feel that those of us who were Black didn't belong certain places. We were denied opportunity in housing. I lived in Chicago after I graduated from college, found lovely places that I wanted to live. I got a scholarship to the University of Chicago and wanted to live there. I found Chicago very fascinating. And driving down the street, you see a place you'd like to live, only to find out after investigation, well, you might have had the money, but you didn't have the right color. Well, that wasn't unique. I found out a lot of things where they figured we didn't belong there. And somehow that stays with you almost, I guess, forever, because right now, to this day, I still feel the pain when I hear the words, you don't belong here. But I set out in my mind and in my thought and in my deeds that I was going to do everything I could, everything I knew. There was going to be a denial opportunity for those who look like me. I was going to fight the dragons of prejudice and bigotry. And that's what I've been doing. And I want to give just a couple of highlights about that. When I moved to Atlanta, I found out that Black doctors could not practice in one hospital that was the public hospital. It did not matter if the patient had money to afford better hospitals with maybe better surroundings. It didn't matter because their doctor couldn't practice there. Well, I decided, oh, we've got to change this. I set out to do that. It was a lot of work to it. But I found that in my research, I didn't want to go off half-cocked. So I tried to find out what the problems were and what was the reason for the disparity in the way Black doctors were treated. Emory University Hospital received more federal funds than any hospital in the whole country. Well, maybe not the country, but certainly in the South. And I wrote a letter to many people, but the particular letter I want to point out to you is the one I wrote to President Johnson, who was, Lyndon Johnson was a good friend to Dr. King. They got along very well. Dr. King had nice things to say about the president. The president had nice things to say about Dr. King, although we were dealing with very delicate issues. But he seemed so sensitive to those negative things that we were facing. But I wrote him a letter and told him about the way Black people were treated in Atlanta, and I never heard from him. I was kind of disappointed, but I don't give up easily. And so we went to Washington, we meaning the doctors committee, and I went to Washington to dramatize our plight. And I said, while we're in Washington, I'm gonna call the president to see why he's just ignoring the problems that I've described. Well, I've got sense enough to know now, and I certainly had sense enough to know then, that you just can't go visiting the White House and just call on the president when you want to. I know that, but I just kind of ignored the reality and just said, I'm gonna try. I'm in Washington now. Martin Luther King thought he's a nice guy. I think he's a nice guy. I can't understand why he didn't respond to my letter. Well, to my surprise, we were in the hotel room, the committee and I, getting ready to go to dinner. The telephone rang because I had called the White House to see if we could see him. Well, the White House, somebody from the White House called and identified themselves and said, can your delegation come to the White House and be here in 20 minutes? The president will see you. Well, I was surprised, and my committee, who could hear me on the other end, didn't believe they could hear. I mean, they were hearing their ears. The president will see us. Well, we went to the White House, and I figured maybe he'd give us some underling who would just kind of pat us on the back and say, good work, keep it up. So I was just as surprised as anybody else as we were sitting there. I'm cutting the story short. It's pretty long, but interesting. But I'm cutting it short for this audience. We heard the president coming down the hall. And he laughed and he said, well, you wrote a kind of a curt letter there, didn't you? And I said, yes, because I didn't like the fact you just ignored our letter because it meant that you were ignoring the issues. And here were people treated pretty badly in a hospital that was getting federal funds, and the federal funds start with you. And he laughed. And to our joy and amazement and surprise, after he heard our story, because I had worked so hard and long on trying to get that problem solved, that we were surprised on the day the president announced by issuing an edict to the nation that from this day forward, all the hospitals in the United States would be desegregated. Now, that was a moment that was pretty wonderful because I was working on a smaller portion of the problem, which was the doctors in Atlanta, but it went larger than that. I then felt the victory of going back to the day, maybe I do belong here. And so when you have a victory, it kind of spurs you on. But I also got a lot of moments of victory when, in working with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the man was so positive, so strong in his faith and his belief. And he used to just stress all the time, white people can love us, and we can love white people. We can all get along. We just need to try harder. And when you hear enough of that, you start believing it, that you can love each other. And so working with the Southern Christian Leadership Conference was an eye-opener, because every day we were trying to fight the problems of bigotry, trying to open the door of opportunity for everybody, not just our friends, not just for Black people, but the Black people. We're the ones who were discriminated so strongly, so consistently, that it was such a shot in the arm to be working in an environment with Martin Luther King, who believed it so strongly, that we could get along as a people. We just need to all work together. And so I put that in my book of memories. And then when I started working for Ted Turner at CNN, lots of wonderful things happened with that experience. Ted Turner was a billionaire, had money, and was willing to share it with the needy the less fortunate, those who lacked opportunities, and he was given opportunities with equity, which was what we call today diversity. We had diversity in the company. I ended up with a nice advancement. I became the highest Black in the company, but I was able to make that position count for those who had not moved that highly. So those are other things that I consider the shot. Maybe it's when my mother would say, help them fulfill those your life with good moments. But with the spirit of Martin Luther King, his wife, Coretta King, the work of Ted Turner, and there's so many opportunities I had in my life, but I use those opportunities to help pass on to eliminate much of the bigotry we all faced. So I felt like working with people like John Lewis, and we all know the kind of life he led, trying to get in good trouble all the time. It makes you feel so good that I just want to keep feeling good. So I just kept trying to bring about change as best I could. But I had a good environment in which to work. I remember the beauty of Andrew Young, who became ambassador. Well, he was everything, mayor, congressman, ambassador. So I had been surrounded by men and women who just really wanted to make a better America. People who felt like we had the talents, the tenacity, the will to help America see its flaws and make us all equal in this great America. And so now at 90 plus, I look back and say, oh, it wasn't all bad. I don't stop at anything. Where there's hunger, I want to help. Where there's lack of opportunity, I want to see what I could do. But I also care of people with me who have what I call like-kind personalities. And so I just feel like I've been doing a pretty decent job. And as my mother would be proud if she were here today and asked the question, well, are you living a good life? Well, there's so many problems, though, you can't stop. There are just too many problems. We still have problems. We still haven't found a way for all of us to love each other. But it feels good when you do. And so if you keep that feeling good attitude, it'll make you do more, that we can do better. I worked with the Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan, and I was surprised, like the nation was, when he called a press conference and said that although he was the leader of the Ku Klux Klan, he was going to get out of it and denounce the organization. And he credited a Black woman by changing his negative attitude. And I was that Black woman. Well, another victory. I think we live in a world where we've got a multiplicity of problems, but they're not insoluble. We have to want to attack the evils of our society. We ought to want to do better. We also want everybody to do better. We want to feed the hungry so that there are fewer of them. We want to clothe the naked so there'll be fewer of them. We want a great world, and it can be better if we all put our shoulders to the grindstone and make it better. Now that brings us down to what people are calling now our current celebration, Juneteenth. I went through grammar school, high school, college, and beyond, and I never heard of Juneteenth. I was Black all of those years, I still am, and Juneteenth was not anything I ever heard about. So I have a friend who was celebrating Juneteenth, and she had a big event, and she invited me to come, and I said, now, explain to me, what is Juneteenth? I didn't know really what it was. It wasn't until recently that I said, let me not remain ignorant. Let me find out what was it. And I did read about it. And here we are at this period, celebrating a day when the early slaves who were tilling the soil and treating everybody's house with care and feeding, did so much that we didn't even know about it because so many of us didn't read about it and weren't taught about it. And so now we feel this surge now because our president has declared it a holiday, and people, not everybody wants to have a picnic and a celebration. But I would urge that everybody, just eat one less rib and read one more book to find out what it really, really was. It was a story, the complete story. When you read the complete story, and I did, I understand it now. I didn't before. But I can see now the elements of people who had been slaves all their years finally got freed. And then after that, they were enlightened enough to know there's some goodies in this that we ought to receive. And they set out to get them for the slaves, the people who had been tilling the soil all these years. And now the day and the time are all right for improved lives. Now, we're not there yet. There's no need to think that we can have a barbecue rib and that solves the problem. It doesn't. One more picnic won't solve the problem. We've got to get in the fight to make this a great America, where all of us, and especially us, will reap the benefits of this life. We're entitled to it. We've earned the right. And so now it's our moment to do the right thing, and one less rib and one more muscle to make this holiday have its real significance. The real significance is our Black brothers and sisters were enslaved, then they got free. Here we are today, passing laws and working in government, and we need to do more. The time is now for us to get the benefits of all of our labor. That's my story. And if you got questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
All right. All right. So thank you so much for being here with us and sharing us your experiences and journey along the way. What an honor it is for you to have you here and us to listen to your story and what it truly means to celebrate Juneteenth. Thank you so much. I'm going to pull up some questions that came through as we went on along the way. So we have a question from Meredith. Meredith. She says, What do you believe the next big movement will be?
Well, I didn't hear the last part of the question.
What do you believe the next big movement will be?
Oh, I think the next movement ought to be the fact that we don't have all the promise of America. So we got to keep working to see that we get all the fruits of our labor. We're not there yet. We're doing better, but we're not there yet. We're still fighting for equity in the jobs. Everybody now, this new terminology about equity and inclusion. We should have been included all along. But we got to vote. Everybody has to get out and vote. Every time there's an opportunity to vote, go and vote. We're not doing it enough. They're doing better, but not there. And things will not get better if we don't get out and work, try to make it better.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Another question is, what advice would you give to this generation of leaders who aspire to make a significant difference in the fight for voting rights in the northern and southern states?
First, get up. We sleep too much. Everybody's talking about how many hours they want to sleep. Get up first. You're not going to do anything till you get up. Read, inquire, search, research to see what's in your neighborhood that needs to be fixed. Who's running for office who would probably work for all of us, not some of us? Educate yourself. Find out everything there is. Read more. And that's where you start. And once you get educated to problems, then you'll know what you need to do and then do it.
Thank you for that again. Another question, when you started working with Congressman Lewis and other freedom fighters, did you know that Atlanta would play such a significant role in the fight for equality and justice?
Well, see, Atlanta really was on its way before John Lewis came. It was Dr. King who inspired John Lewis to get involved in the movement. He had started reading about Dr. King, and he had not finished school yet. He didn't have any money either to go to school. Dr. King gave him money to go to school because he saw his diligence and his sincerity. And he asked him why he didn't go to school. He said he had no money. He said, well, we'll fix that. So he made it possible for him to go to school. And then John just had it in his spirit all the time, because even living in a small town, he saw the prejudices that Black people had to drink from the water fountains that was different from the white people. And so he learned about that. And so he learned about segregation and discrimination early. It's just that he couldn't do anything about it. And his mother really didn't want him to get in trouble. And that's how he came up with that slogan, well, all trouble is not bad. You know, there's some good trouble. And so we're going to see if we can fight the ills of our society. And that's how he got started in the movement. And he was so dedicated to it. I love John a lot because he was serious about the movement. He got bashed in the head many times. And I even asked him one time, but John, doesn't that hurt? And of course, I knew it must have, but it hurts me to watch the pictures of John getting beaten. He said, yes, he said, but you know what? Once you're down on that ground, you know you got to get up. You got to get up. I never forgot that. He kept saying, you got to get up, you know. So I think we all need to get up and do something.
Yes, I agree. Thank you for that. From Camille, she says, how do you stay motivated and hopeful to continue to fight for people's rights?
How do you get motivated, you said?
How do you stay motivated and hopeful to continue to fight for people's rights?
Oh, it's easy to motivate me. When I find wrong, I want to find out why it is. Why isn't it wrong? Why can't I go in there? You know, like I'd like to go back now and find that hamburger place and find out, why can't I come in here? You know, what am I going to do except buy what you're selling? You're selling hamburgers. I want to buy one. So how idiotic is that? I want to know how dumb he was. That he turned down 4 sales for hot dogs and hamburgers there. So I guess I am at the point that maybe I'll stop soon. I don't know. I don't think I'll ever stop. If there's a problem, I want to solve. It's just my nature. I want to get in the middle of it and let's help solve the problem. Because it feels good when you help. You know, it does. It feels so good. But who doesn't want to feel good? So I feel good every time there's a victory. When we try something and it works, try something else. It too may work.
Thank you for that. We have an interesting question from Talia. She asked, do you feel that America is going backwards?
No, because I don't think America is going forward enough, long enough. We got to keep moving forward before we can even think about backwards. Backwards would carry us back to slavery. We're not there, but we don't even want to be considered as half that. We're equal as, better than some. And so we as a people can be judged the same way you judge anything and anybody. You know, you got good, bad, and better. We are as good as some, better than a lot, and more interested than whole lots more about making this a great America. We want America, we don't want to fight every day. You really don't. I mean, you're tired. Fighting wears you out.
Mm-hmm.
So we really want to be treated equal, so we don't have to fight.
Mm-hmm.
You want to live just the kind of life that makes you happy and peaceful and joyful. Everybody would want that. That's the good life.
Mm-hmm.
When you can afford to do what you want to do when you want to do it and not worry about what people say about it and how they treat you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, don't worry about it. Be your best at everything.
Thank you for that. Thank you. From LaShandra, we have, so I know that you spoke about Martin Luther King Jr. and John Lewis, but who were some of your heroes that inspired your leadership?
Well, there were a lot. I think Shirley Chisholm, of course, came later, but I had some earlier idols. Mahalia Jackson, a lot of people may not know who she is. Mahalia Jackson was a great singer, a gospel singer. Ethel Waters was someone I admired. People who got up and went to it. People who had a craft and were willing to share it. People who fought for equity, even when they were really just trying to fight to get an opportunity. So there are lots of people that I admired for their tenacity and their success. And I'll tell you a story about Harry Belafonte, Sidney Poitier, and but I want to tell you, I mean, everybody knows them, but and when I worked for SCLC, one of many jobs I did, we'd have to call on the celebrities who had attraction, because the public is often attracted to people with, you know, big name celebrities and so forth. Mm-hmm. And we had a movement, and we needed their presence because they added an allure to our work. We'd call them that we need you in Birmingham, we need you in wherever. Mm-hmm. But and they'd come. But one time I was trying to find Nancy Wilson, who was always ready to go. I couldn't find her. And I told Dr. King I couldn't find her. She's, you know, not where people said she was. But guess what? She was on her way to join us before we called her. She didn't wait for the call. Mm-hmm. She read and heard there was disturbance in a certain neighborhood in a city, and heard there was a call out for people who had influence. And so she was changing her schedule so she could join us. I gave her an award during the Trumpet Awards, and I told that story, and she said, she thanked me, she cried. She said, Xernona, everybody will know I was a singer and successful at it, but nobody will know how dedicated I was to the fight for equal rights. And thank you for telling the story. Because people that, oh, I didn't know she did that. I didn't know that. You know, you hear about some of the people who marched and dedicated their lives to the fight, but you didn't hear a lot about her. And so she was so happy that I had mentioned her, because she was a dedicated soul to doing her part to make equality reality.
Thank you for that. Thank you. So we have from Aaron, he asked, how did your time as a student at Tennessee State impact your journey?
Oh, well, I had a good school, good instructors, some good friends I met along the way, and it was such a great environment, and we had good food. Our president of the university was in real good relationships with the board of trustees. And he invited, our president invited the board of trustees to have that annual meeting at our school. And that was tightening the relationship. And so we got the best meals of any school, and there are a lot of schools in Nashville, people didn't realize that, but everybody wanted to come to our campus to eat our food because we had good food every day, not just Sunday dinner, but every day. So we had good leadership, and it was so wonderful for me. I enjoyed my years at Tennessee State.
Thank you. We have a really good question that came through that said, what can we learn from the conversion of the former head of the KKK to apply in today's world? What were your interactions with him before his conversions?
I think I would glean from that relationship that he found out that there was a better life than the life of a Klansman. He was a member of a church, very active member. He was a deacon in the Baptist church that he went to regularly. Mm-hmm. And I said, I am a Baptist. How in the world can you stand before that congregation and talk about the good Lord and filled with bigotry in your heart? How could you do that? So God on one hand and practicing bigotry on another. And how on Fridays can you pick up your children, put on those white robes, and go out to do bodily harm to people? How does that fit in with going to church and trying to be a Christian and trying to be a parent? What are you? And those kind of piercing questions, I understand, were things that helped weaken his real strong belief in what he was doing, that he could do, maybe be a better parent and a better Christian if he changed his tactics. And he didn't tell me all of that, but from his talks, it seemed like those were the motivations for him. Mm-hmm. He learned there's a better way.
It's a better way. I like that. Okay, so we can, Natalie Healy asked, what is your favorite book, or is there a book that you think everyone should read?
Yes, the Bible. But I'd like for you to read my book. I've been marching all the time. I wrote a book. But Dr. King's books, Strength to Love, oh, that was his earlier book. The earliest, I should say, because he did several. But that was the earliest book he wrote. And it was really good. But there are a lot of good books out there. I think whoever interests you as an individual, see what they have to say. People you admire. Most people who've written books now just go to the library, go to the bookstore and browse. And sometimes I buy books of people I don't even know. As a matter of fact, I ended up with a guest on the Trumpet Awards. They had one of the best and most stimulating stories. He was a Walgreens executive, Walgreens drugstore. But he, as a kid, he was an orphan. And his parents didn't want him. And they put him out of the house and just left him to feel for himself. And every day he felt the loneliness of, I wish I had a family. I wish I had a family. I wish I had. And he wrote a book about it. And it led him to a lot of experiences and ended up being a top executive. And now he was running for public office. But I like reading books, and I didn't know anything about him. So read about the people you don't know as well as the people you do know. Just look, see how the titles look. So you don't have to know people. You learn a lot from everybody. You can learn something from everybody, everywhere. So just go get a book.
Thank you. A question came in and says, as a Latina, it feels like minority communities are often pitted against each other to create more obstacles to progress. What advice can you give to bridge that gap?
Oh, I don't think the gap is that wide. What happened is sometimes people have fears of a person of another persuasion. But I have a personal experience with so many people that when I was working with school dropouts in Los Angeles, I worked with 100 kids and got 82 of them back in school. And so I had to work with them to find out what their problems were, what their lifestyle really was at home, and find out, they have the same type of life that the rest of us have. If there are too many people in the family, like they had 5 girls in this one family, And reason one of the girls, or two of the girls, didn't dropped out of school is that they didn't have enough money for everybody to have his own rollers and hair preparation stuff. So the first ones who would get up in the morning would use up all the goodies of using the rollers and the this and the that and the hairpins and the bobby pins, and then the ones who were left behind didn't have it. They didn't want to go to school with their hair looking all messed up. And that was a problem I could solve real easily and did. But I think we have just a misnomer. All people are the same. Everybody is the same. That's why I don't understand this difference that we can't seem to work out. That underneath the skin, we're all the same. Underneath the skin, we're all the same. We all do the same things biologically. We all get hungry, want to eat when we are hungry. I mean, there's very little difference. When you put people together, analyze them, there's very little difference. We have created the difference that's made it a problem. Black ain't bad. Some people are, but we're not all bad just because we're Black. And so you go down all the racial ethnicity that exists in this country, in this world, you'll find some that differ from yours. Their mannerisms would differ perhaps, but we're all the same. If I pinch you, it's going to hurt. If I slap you, you're going to cry. I mean, stomp your toe, it's going to hurt. All the same.
Thank you for that. Lashandra asked, what are your thoughts of us having our first woman vice president in history? In your opinion, will we ever see a woman president in our lifetime?
Well, I hope we would. I'd hope we'd have a good candidate every year. Every time we have an election, I'm hoping we get a good president. And I guess I really wouldn't care if he's male or female, but it certainly has been our time as Black Americans. We are entitled to serve the country in that capacity. And we ought to have a Black person and a white person working side by side everywhere. There's not a problem. Native Americans, I mean, the color ought not make a difference. Because we never had that. That's why we made such a big deal on, because the time, what the people say, the time is now. The time has been now. It was now then. Anytime we had an election, we could have had consideration of a woman. She's as smart as she is. She's not the only one. There are a whole lot more just like her. I love her, respect her. She's my friend, and she's good. But there are a lot of them. So we don't need to search hard and long, just look around, there's probably one right behind you, So we loved it, but I don't put that much emphasis on let's celebrate because, we finally got one. Well, yes, I'm glad we did, but it's long overdue. The moves in America to equity and justice and equal treatment and equal ability is long past. We've passed that. We've been having smart people a long time, and they're getting smarter every day. So that the pluckings and the pickings are available and good. Just pick the best for whatever we're looking for.
Thank you for that. And then we'll end it off with our last question from Talia. She says, how do you keep from getting scared and marching on even in today's world?
That's an interesting question. I guess I don't operate so much from whether I'm afraid or not. I find a problem, and my will is to help solve it. So I don't put much else into it, like, am I scared to do it? I don't think about that. What can I do to feed this person? What can I do, and how can I help house this person? And what must I do to see to it that these children are taken care of and they're not harmed? When I hear stories like I heard last week, parents mistreating their children and burning them up and throwing them in the wells, and that kills me. I just absolutely almost want to die when I hear stories of mistreatment. And from a child, it's just an a thing that I just can't hardly stand because that child never had an opportunity. But I don't have any rules and regulations about how far I'll go to help somebody. I wish I had money to give to people, but I take what I have and give what I can, and help wherever there's a need if I can and when I can.
Thank you for that. And once again, it's such an honor to sit here and to have you share your story, your journey along the way. We really appreciate you for being here, Xernona. And here at DreamBank, we truly believe in the power of dreams and celebrate that our community is made up of fellow fearless dreamers. To all who tuned in, we thank you for joining us. We look forward to continuing to learn, grow, and dream together. And you can learn more about upcoming DreamBank events and content designed with your dreams in mind at amfam.com/dreambank and connecting us with our social channels. On behalf of American Family Insurance DreamBank, we look forward to hosting you again soon. Until then, keep dreaming fearlessly. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it very much.